Hello, Hockey World. How are you doing? I today am sporting the Roger Dean inspired. Roger Dean is the person who made the Yes album covers and stuff like that. The under 23 team, I guess, whatever we're gonna call them,
Yeah,
North
the
American team,
Team North America.
Team North America, Team Young North America. I like how the XX then the three. I think this logo is pretty cool. It's very I don't know, Mad Maxish to me. Like there's like a whole craziness, but
I think it was Ray Ferraro from TSN who said that the lettering and that looked like the cover of a Pantera album. Which
yeah, it has like a little bit of a Pantera thing going on for sure.
now seeing it, yeah, it
And
does
just the
sort of look.
triangle, the up that is kind of alludes to that like upside down satanic star type thing.
Yeah, exactly. It does look a little heavy metal.
But I think it's for when you think about it, okay, it's the young. It's kind of does fit it is younger looking maybe. I don't know. Whenever the NHL tries to be cool, they go to orange. I've noticed this in the past. Whenever they think they're trying to be cool, they look to orange. I'm not sure orange is the coolest color in the world, but it's not a bad color. But they always go to orange. So that's the orange and black thing is Flyers fans are all up in arms about that, but they shouldn't be. It's. I think the under 23. I do agree with you though that this team could really win it all. There's no question about it. There's just
It's funny. You look at that team and you say, and Peter Chiarelli was interviewed after the original 16 names were released, and he said that, I think we'll be able to stand up with Canada and the U.S. The question is, whether we'll have the guys who can be specialists, the guys who can, win faceoffs or kill penalties. We have players who have high-end offensive games. We have good young goaltending. We have good defensemen, but there are things that players learn in time,
right.
and to round out their game, and because these players are all 24 and under, some of them are not fully developed as players. So Eichel and McDavid and Johnny Gaudreau will be extremely exciting, but it's whether they can play that two-way game and shut down another team when they need to in this tournament. I think it'll be. I think it's the most interesting story of the tournament, not USA, not Team
Yeah.
Europe, not the Russians. I think it's Team North America, and to see the blending of the Canadian and U.S. young players. I mean, just think of it, Ak. This will probably be the only time we see in the next 10 to 15 years Eichel and McDavid on the same side.
Yeah. I mean, that in and of itself is amazing, right? So, the one thing, the NHL, the initial concept of the World Cup of Hockey was to sort of get people away from going to the Olympics. Like that was the one thing about this. I think it actually works in reverse for that. I think it makes the Olympics more interesting because you're actually taking some of the better players from USA and Canada off the team. So when you go to the Olympics, they're going to be back on those teams, and
Yep.
I think will make that. I think it actually kind of is defeating the purpose of if that's. I think what it's doing is it's going to make every game really exciting, and it's definitely the best way to even out the tournament and make it.
Right.
It's better than like Latvia or something like that. But there's their own charm to Latvia. I love those games. I'm always a big fan of those games, but I do think it does not help their cause as far as not going to the Olympics.
Well, I mean, the one thing is the whole reason for the Team Europe and the Team North America gimmick. I mean, Team Europe was to get all those players on Switzerland and Slovenia. The Kopitar would not be part of this if there wasn't a Team Europe, and maybe that sticks around. But the whole reason for the Team North America is because there wasn't a stronger seventh European team.
Right.
A Switzerland or a Slovakia to fill in.
Yeah.
In 4 years, that may be different. There may be a team that is good enough to be part of the mix, and there won't be a need for Team North America. Because, I mean, honestly, I think McDavid, I think Eichel would make the U.S., I think McDavid would make Team Canada. So, I think that this could be a one-off in terms of what they do.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, I hope they do this every 4 years. I would really like it. I mean,
Well, I'm saying the World Cup will happen every 4 years, but
okay.
I'm saying with whether Team North America and Team
They
Europe.
keep that. I think they'll keep it together. I mean, there's no. I mean, really, when you think about it, unless you do what some people have said, like having two Canadian teams, is the other option. Is having like Canadian, and then maybe just split that in the middle, like as far as age goes. That would be interesting. But I think
Western Canada and Eastern Canada.
Western Canada, Eastern Canada, that would be. That'd be interesting. I think Eastern Canada would destroy Western Canada, but yeah, I think that's because there's just more people from there.
Yeah. Well, you could have basically Canada minus Ontario, Team
Yeah,
Ontario and Team Canada.
yeah, that wouldn't do anything. That wouldn't. Can you imagine? That just feeds right into the rest of Canada's feelings about Ontario. Why not just throw that in there already? That's perfect. That's just
Which would be basically be Team Toronto.
talk about flaming the fires. I mean, or or whatever, fanning the flames. That would do it for sure. We are joined by Ty Anderson. Hello, Ty.
How's it going?
Very well, thanks. I'm wearing my North America jersey today, shirt.
It is a Star Wars jersey.
It is Star Wars. I agree.
It's the closest thing that we're gonna have to a Star Wars jersey.
their stick should be neon light colored. Like
Yeah,
lightsaber.
absolutely.
Then we have it. Now, I think my theory is the NHL, when they want to be cool and hip, they go to orange. They always have. They think orange is the way to go, and that's what they've done. You know, for a while they went to black and silver, of course, but the original NHL logo was orange and black, and this kind of reminds me of that as far as the color scheme goes, but which I like. I missed the original logo, by the way. I thought it was cooler.
Yeah, you know, the other thing they do too is when all these teams need to like redefine their color scheme or their jerseys, they go to like the Bruins and the Blackhawks patterns with the sleeves.
Yeah,
you
they
have
do.
three stripes, and you have like the shoulder patches, and you're good.
Yeah,
There's the original NHL.
There's the original NHL logo, yeah. Is that a Buffy the Vampire Slayer mug there that you have?
No, this is a post 1970 NHL mug. Yeah,
Nice.
the original.
Wow.
When it was 16 teams in the league.
I like the Atlanta Flames thing. I got an Atlanta Flames jersey the other day. It's definitely a cool jersey.
Yeah, there's actually a store about 25 minutes away from my apartment here called Old Time Hockey, and they sell.
Really?
Yeah, it's the best store ever.
That is so cool. I've got to go to that store.
And they sell like they have a whole wall of just California Golden Seals, Atlanta Flames, New York Americans,
Wow.
Toronto St. Pats. They have all these old school team, the Montreal Maroons. They have all these old school teams like T-shirts and logos and hats and whatnot. And it's honestly like one of my favorite stores ever.
So cool.
They have a they had a deal on like Christmas. It was like for every item you got, it's like a locally run store too, I think, which makes it even better.
Yeah.
For every item you bought, you got like another percentage off the next item. So I went to buy my mother like a hat because she was going to the Winter Classic. So I was like, oh, I'll get her a Bruins winter hat. And I went in and I went to buy the hat, and the guy was like, hey, get more things. Well, why are you saying that? That's a really easy pitch, I guess. But why are you saying that? He goes, everything you get, it's another 10% off. I was like, no way.
Nice.
So the hat was like $25. I ended up buying 2 T-shirts. I bought a Columbus Blue Jackets T-shirt with just a cannon on it,
Yeah.
and then I bought a Whalers jersey that just has the whale on it, and it has the R on the end. And
Yeah, that was the WHA Whalers jersey or
New
something.
England
Like
Whalers.
Yeah.
New England Whalers, yeah.
Yeah, so I got that, and the total was actually cheaper than just the hat. And I was like, this is unbelievable. So I go there entirely too much, but it's the best store.
That is awesome.
Only place in Massachusetts where you can probably get an Atlanta Flames shirt.
Yeah, no, they are. I know. I love that the NHL. I mean, the NHL store is selling those now. They couldn't get them forever. For a while, you had to go online and get them. I just got a Philadelphia Firebird shirt, which is so cool. That's like old school. That was a logo when I was a kid. That was a logo. I always wanted a Firebirds jersey. They played. They played in Cherry Hill near where I was growing up, which later became the roller rink where I had my first dance. Like, a roller skating party. But that was the whole thing. It was like a whole funny thing. But by the way, this is our picture right now on Hockey Buzz for this. You seen this? If you're checking.
Great.
Like if you go to our blog, it's really not a great picture, Mike. I don't know how to change this.
I don't either. All I know is that the last 2.
It's horrible.
It's been like me with my hands up. Looks like I'm.
It likes you. Like Google picks randomly. It likes you for some reason. Maybe it's the reflection off your head, but it's something. There's just it just wants to have pictures of you on there all the time.
What can I say? Google has good taste.
Yeah.
Listen, I think that's an absolutely appropriate picture of you, though, to be honest.
You're like screaming. Ah!
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, let's start the show. We got to stop at 2 o'clock today, so we're gonna go a little bit quick. Sorry, guys, for the I've got I've got a crazy meeting, and then I've got 10-year-old boys coming for the sleepover party tonight for my son, and I'm the entertainment committee for that. So I've been working. Have you ever been playing? I've been playing my game that we were a super fight game. We're going to be running that. We're going to be building. It's crazy. So my meeting between them, my wife's like, if you're not back for the sleepover party, I will divorce you. She will not take on 10-year-old boys by herself. So
let's do the intro because there's some breaking news here.
All right then. Hello, Hockey World. It's Friday, March 12th.
11th.
It's Friday, March 11th, 2016.
You almost said it again.
I got it.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Ty Anderson.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com, and here's Mike with some breaking news.
Per Nick Kiprios of Sportsnet, the NHL suspension for Dennis Wideman has been reduced, as Russ Cohen said yesterday, to 10 games by the neutral arbitrator James Oldham. So they kept him out for 20, and now they're giving him 10 games worth of pay back.
So does this mean he can do something that's like that just like would get a normal 10-game suspension and not have to serve it? Could he just go out there and just like take off a guy's head?
It's already time served. He could probably play tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think that he should be able to. He should have retroactively 9 games in his back pocket now that he's already served to a suspension in the future. So now he can go and actually go and do something crazy.
He can put it in the bank, but I don't think
he should be able to bank it. It should be like a rollover minutes type thing. He should absolutely have this.
But I mean, as we said yesterday, this exposes the NHL system that they have right now. I mean, okay, is it fair with a third-party arbitrator? Sure, but it has to be done with a little more, I think, a little more
timeliness.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this
urgency.
The incident happened just before the All-Star break. That was late January, so it took 6 weeks for this to get adjudicated. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I mean, especially when this was a player Calgary wanted to trade.
Yeah, that trade was done. I've said it before.
For the entire deadline season.
Yeah. He would be a Bruin right now if this hadn't happened. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was an ugly situation, I think, and it's funny the Sean Thornton suspension. I remember this when Sean Thornton, he KO'd Brooks Orpik, and he got that 15-game ban. That they had the independent arbitrator, I think, by like game number 5, I want to say, if not even sooner. Like, it didn't take this long, and I understand, I guess, that it takes longer when it's around the All-Star break and things of that nature. Everyone's away, whatever the case may be. But still, it shouldn't be this long of a process.
I think, like I said yesterday, I think this process took longer because they wanted him to serve the full 20 because of the effect it would have on the officials and the NHL backing the officials. The money and the actual suspension after the fact doesn't really matter. He served a 20-game suspension. Now he gets $280,000 back, and it gets reduced to 10. But it was actually a 20-game suspension.
And $280,000. I mean, what does that mean anyway?
That
matters not at all to anyone.
Chicken feed.
That's like just a drop. I mean, what the heck? No, I mean, I heard that he really wanted the money back, and I heard that he also wanted to clear his name. So he realized. I heard that he delayed it to a degree. Like, he put a case together that took a long time. He had a certain amount of time to put his case together. He could have come in and gotten a case together right away, and this might have been solved earlier. But he really wanted to put a strong case together about it. And what this does, though. It does set some precedents, which is going to be a problem moving forward with suspensions, possibly. That we're going to see every suspension appealed, and it might be the kind of thing like, he really went. I heard he went out of his way. Wideman took a long time, took as long as he possibly could to put his whole case together.
Every major suspension is going to get appealed now. I mean, we're talking if Rafi Torres, the hit that he had on, who was it? From Anaheim.
Jakob Silfverberg.
Silfverberg. If that hit had happened after Wideman, even with the record of Torres' previous instances when he got suspended, he would have appealed because why not? I mean, now it's an avenue to get the penalty reduced. So I think this is the new normal of the NHL. It won't be for 5-game suspensions. Teams, players will just I mean that's the pain, the course of doing business. But if it's 20 games, you're talking about 1/4 of your salary for the year, then yeah, that's significant.
Yeah, it is. Couple things. Now, so today the NHL Bettman came out with a bunch of statements. I think just probably to shift the story away from this whole thing and a bunch of different interesting concepts. First of all, he was interviewed and someone asked him about the complaints about 3-on-3 not being real hockey. That 3-on-3 is not real hockey. His response was, "Shut up." How about that? Like, no, you shut up. Shut up. All right. So no.
Well, what do people want? What do they want? Do they want 4-on-4?
Yeah, I know exactly. I think that this is. I think part of this is like Bettman just signed another huge contract, so he's feeling like he can say whatever he wants to. But part of this is also just the fact that what really 3-on? I mean, there's nobody who should be complaining about 3-on-3 hockey. I think it's working fine. It's more interesting than a shootout. It's it's fun. I mean, there are some really good 3-on-3 games. There are some bad ones too, but there are some really good 3-on-3s.
It's that time of year though where we're starting to see teams go to overtime again.
Oh yeah, no, we're playing for ties come third period, no question.
Yeah, no one's taking that chance.
Oh yeah,
everyone's waiting until overtime to take that chance if they want to take it. But we're getting back to that point in the season where, with 5 minutes left to go in a tied game, no one is doing much of anything.
Nothing.
Which is, I think, more criminal than the 4-on-4 overtime that everyone complained about last year.
I'm with you. It's been this way for years, and this is my biggest thing about the 3 points for a regulation win. It just has to happen because that would change that, and you would get, you could have teams could come back. I hate it. The other day I was watching the Predators game against Calgary that they tied up with the goalie out.
Yeah.
And then they after that I think it was maybe Bettman or some defenseman for the Predators had the puck behind the goal.
Exactly. I was going to say the same.
Were you watching this?
Yeah, but he was behind the net with 15 seconds left to go.
And he stood there for 15 seconds, and the Calgary Flames didn't pressure him, and he didn't come out. The ref's like, move it, and he's like moving it like to the left, moving it to the right. I'm like,
I'm sorry. I told the ref to screw you. We need the point.
And the ref just came over to him, and they kind of just laughed about it, the two of them, because the ref knows what he's doing too. The ref knows he's got it. I mean, there's no reason. This is a sport. You can't have that. It's just.
But it's not like the referee could call delay of game there because the opposition.
Yes. What can you call?
The opposition is not forcing him out, and if he wants to run out the clock and it's not 2 minutes or something like that, why not? Why not do it?
And how far away are we from like two teams that need to make the playoffs with 1 point, and they play each other? They're tied going into the third period, and they both just decide we won't score on you if you don't score on us. It's like not that far away from that. It feels like.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's criminal. And I hate. I mean, ties are like kissing your sister, as the old joke goes. I mean, I'm tired of this. Not you, Ty, of course, but others.
Yeah, it's understandable if you are.
You're nothing like kissing your sister. But moving on. Where that went for a second.
The incest hour. Thank you very much.
That was interesting. So that's the first thing Bettman says. So you shut up. The next thing he said was this. He said, under no circumstances are the Red Wings or Blue Jackets moving back to the Western Conference. So if the NHL expands, like people have been talking about, the Blue Jackets and Red Wings could possibly move back to the West. Not happening. So I'm not surprised by that because
that's not a shock.
I know I thought the Blue Jackets could though. I did. I mean, but the Red Wings, there was no way the Red Wings are going to because the Red Wings basically put in their time in the West like as a favor to the NHL, and the NHL told them that they would move them out of there and never move them back. So.
No, Gary likes his Little Caesars pizza too much, so he's not going to have this supply cut off by moving them back to the West.
But who are we going to move to the West? I mean, that's the crazy thing. If we get this expansion, someone's got to move.
Yeah, it's got to. I mean, what is the resolution?
What are the options?
You can't have it be 16-14 because I know the West is. We all seem to agree the West is the better conference.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's an easier for the playoffs if there's only 14 teams versus 16 teams. That's obvious.
Yeah, it's just percentages.
Benefits Western Conference teams more than it does Eastern Conference teams, and I think you can't have that. No other league has that where there's a 2-team slant to the other conference. That's just crazy. Baseball had this for a while with the NL having 6 teams, and the AL I believe had 14. Because the AL West had 4 teams for like the longest time.
Right.
But no other sport has this, and even if you go to Las Vegas, you still need another one. You still need another one over there.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can't. I don't think you can do expansion if you don't do two teams. It has to be an even number. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't
Well,
that make the most
no, I
sense?
mean, I've talked to you about that, and they say they could move one team in, and that they have a way of doing it. It's not pretty, but it wouldn't be really, it wouldn't be fair scheduling wise. But there would be some. I mean, someone would get an easier schedule as a result. But they would do it. They would do. I don't see the real reason to do that. I mean, we talked about Quebec now as being told they're not going to get an expansion team, but that doesn't mean they're not going to get another team. And that's what seems to be that I think they are going to get a
They
team.
should get Carolina because Carolina is. I know it worked for a while in Carolina, but geez, I mean, look at those buildings most nights. It's pretty ugly.
Yeah, it is.
It seems to be the pathway that I mean, at least the indications are that the pathway that the NHL is going to follow is, like Ty said, Carolina, maybe to Quebec in a couple years if Carmanos cannot change, cannot find a minority ownership that can eventually take over, and he's had no success, and two expansion teams if and when Seattle can get up their efforts to get a building. I think the whole reason why, remember Bill Foley, the prospective owner of the Las Vegas team, he came out around the All-Star break and said he didn't realize that the expansion process for the NHL would be so laborious and difficult. And okay, that means that he's not getting one next year, or not getting it for 2017-18. But maybe by 2018, Seattle will be up and going, and then you'll have Seattle and Vegas, and then it's 16 and 16.
I think that's like. I also heard though, as an outside, as Portland, Oregon, as being another spot. Like as the thing about Seattle is there's a lot of problems with Seattle beyond just the fact that they can't get the stadium thing together. There is also the fact that they are pretty close to Vancouver. That not that it's a big deal, but this is Vancouver. I think it's very similar to like Toronto and Buffalo.
But it's not. It's okay. It's a 2-hour drive. I mean, I remember you made that drive in 2011. I mean, So it's not. I mean, Buffalo Toronto is 90 miles. I think
that's like 2 hours roughly as well. So.
Yeah, I think it's enough that there's. I mean, it's not within the 90-mile television range.
Well, it's definitely true when you consider that from the Flyers, there's like 4 teams within 2 hours. So yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean I think that and then there's 6 teams within 4 hours, so it's crazy. But yeah, no, I think you're right. I think Seattle's got a shot, but I really like Portland. The idea of Portland's a lot like San Jose was when San Jose got a team. And as far as the kind of people that are there, and it just really feels like it would be cool. I think the NHL likes the concept of being the only game in town. Like, I mean, the Trailblazers are there, I guess, right? So there's a basketball team, but there's no football or baseball team. That would be beneficial, I think.
Well, it would be beneficial if you're getting the ownership group of the Trailblazers to be the ownership group of the NHL franchise. I'm not sure if Paul Allen is the owner of the Trailblazers. I think he used to be. But if that, and that's Microsoft billions there. I know he's the owner of the Seahawks. But if you have a situation where Portland, it's a separate ownership and they're a tenant of the Trailblazers, then you're going to have a situation where that team's not going to get good dates, and the Trailblazers are the main tenant, and that's always a problem with the NHL of a team being a secondary tenant in a market that's sort of a secondary market. So that could be a little difficulty. But if their ownership group is interested and they get some good dates, then that franchise could succeed.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing, Bettman's go ahead, Ty.
I think you have to have it you have to have a team in Seattle, because I think if you watch how the leagues react to Seattle teams of late, ever since the Sonics left, and I've said this before on here, ever since the Sonics left, the fans go out and support the hell out of their teams. It's actually unbelievable the way that they really rally around their local teams. And obviously the Sonics move had a lot to do with situations beyond the fan support, of course, but I think since that moment, they've really gravitated towards their local teams, and I got a feeling the NHL would really be a home run there, just based on the way they love the MLS. Honestly, I liken hockey to MLS quite a bit in terms of its fan support, and the people that like hockey tend to like MLS and soccer, whether it's here or the Champions League or things like that. So I feel like it would do really well in Seattle. You just gotta build the building, and that's the hardest part, as we all know.
Yeah, there's that, and you're right though. I mean, my wife was out there recently for a conference in Seattle, and she sent me this picture on her. She said, "What the hell team is this?" That MLS team, people wear that jersey and shirt everywhere. That's the most. That MLS team is a really cool jersey, but it's everywhere. I mean, it's super bright and all that. So they go with it. And the MLS team is really, and Seattle, it would be a great town for hockey. It's been a great town. I mean, it's been a great WHA town for years. So.
But the one negative is that from what they say about at least in the past about the building would be to go along with an NBA team. So it's not just...
Yeah, it has to be both.
Right. So all the benefits of going into Seattle, I mean, Seattle has been an NBA town. Your NHL team would be fourth behind the Seahawks, the Sounders, and the NBA team. So, I mean, that's...
Yeah, but the Mariners stink.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, the Mariners are.
Hence the reason I didn't even include them in the mix.
Yeah, they're really, really bad. Now, the other controversial thing, or not controversial, but the other thing that Bettman said, so we wouldn't talk about the Wideman suspension, was Bettman's on the possibility of expanding playoffs to a play-in game. We've been talking about. Yeah, he says he agrees with you, Ty. He's like, no, I don't see that. Doesn't make any sense to me. A play-in game.
No. This is the one thing I hate about baseball, and I know they've had success with it.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can have a team, because this would happen. You would have a team that is 8th place by like 9 points.
Right.
If they lose that game to the team that was 9 points behind and that team's in, I don't like it. Yeah. And I don't like this because I think hockey, next to baseball, and I talked about this on a different podcast that I do. Hockey is probably that one sport where anything can happen any one game. The game moves too quickly.
Yeah.
Even if you're a dominant team, you still lose, 30 games a year.
Yeah.
And I just don't like this idea. I don't. We've become obsessed with the play-in game. I don't like as sports fans. I don't get it. When it happens naturally, it's amazing.
Right.
Let's not force it. It's the same thing I felt about the playoff alignment. We're forcing rivalries. Let them happen naturally. You don't need to do that.
Well, it's because this is a package that they can sell to the networks. This is a complete. You can sell the play-in game, 4 play-in games to ESPN for whatever. Just like Turner was sold the play-in games for MLB the first time around. That's what they're looking at, and they've been talking about this play-in game possibility since the new CBA. They were talking about this during the lockout, that one of the things for extra revenue would be a play-in game to expand it from 16 to 20 teams. And based on, right now you've got, a little over 50% making the playoffs. And if you go to a play-in game, then you're talking about 2/3 of the league at least having a taste of the postseason. So, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm with Ty. I mean, are you for it or against it, Mike?
No, I mean, I see the reason why they're doing it. I don't particularly want to do it. It's been 16 teams for a long time, so I'm for sticking with that. But I understand the reason why, and I think eventually it's going to happen because it's revenue, and the players don't want to pay escrow, and the owners will try to earn every dollar they possibly can. So I think eventually it'll happen.
Well, I mean, if the owners have their say, it's absolutely going to get a thumbs up, yes, because when the playoffs start, the checks for the players stop, and the pure revenue just comes in.
Yeah.
And that's where things get messy for a lot of teams and a lot of ownership groups, a lot of GMs that would like to sell, but they can't because ownership from above is saying, hey, we need playoff dates. And this happens in quite a few different cities.
Let's just go to best of 9 series. Let's do that.
Yeah. And I mean, the more playoff games, the happier the owners really are, because that's when they really tend to make their money.
Major League Baseball did that. They went to 9 games in the in the teens like 100 years ago.
Did they really? I don't know.
The famous 1919 World Series between Cincinnati and Chicago was a best of 9.
Wow.
Yeah, they also had a weird best of 8, which made no sense to me at one point. I forget what year that was. They had like an 8, like a.
It was because one of the games was called because of darkness.
Oh, I wish we had that today. I feel like there must have been a time in like the early 1900s where a baseball game got canceled because of like birds. There's too many birds in the outfield. We can't play. Everyone go home. Let's start it tomorrow.
Well, there was
I
almost
miss old baseball.
Someone forgot to bring a ball or something.
There was almost one canceled due to flying bottles.
Okay, so that's close. Was that in Boston? Let me guess. That was in Boston.
Detroit.
Like, I'm trying to think of the reasons that games were canceled. Like when we were kids playing in the neighborhood, like oh, he couldn't get a second goalie or couldn't get another net.
Yeah.
Yeah, those kind of things, like that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, we know. It's just like no one has we need a left-handed stick. Screw it. All right. Yeah. So Bettman with a couple big statements today, and I think I kind of agree with all of them. This is kind of interesting. Now, this is an interesting little trivia thing before we get into the weekend games, which we're going to do for the rest of the show. I want to talk about the Canada thing too, real quick, Mike.
We can save that to another show. But I was going to say one of the things that they're bringing up that may be brought up at the general managers meetings next week, and I think they're in Florida, is the fact that with video review that the offsides calls will be sent to Toronto rather than determined at the arena by the referees on the tablet. And I have a feeling that that's the direction that they're going to go. I think they're going to take it out of the referees' hands. I think it's going to go to Toronto for everything.
This is going to be terrible because what this is going to be, it's going to be like the NFL where a guy catches the ball in the back of the end zone and no one makes a call. Like, oh, what? Yeah, well, we'll just look at it and see what happens. I like calls. I like there to be a call on the field. I don't know. I mean, I like getting it right. I know they're going to put little cameras because you can put them everywhere. They're going to put them on the blue line. I know that, going straight across, which makes sense. They already have the ones that they won't let us see, but they're inside the posts.
They're apparently for the playoffs. They're putting cameras in the crossbar to shoot directly down to the goal line.
Yeah. This review system, I loved the idea at first, but it's just been horribly executed. Because I think, first of all, we're 70 games into the season for most teams, and I still don't know what goaltender interference is.
Yeah.
Because you've seen it challenged, and you've seen goals that you thought were coming back upheld, and goals that you thought were going to be upheld overturned, and you're like,
oh yeah,
what is happening? And first of all, I think when you force a referee in a situation where he has to say in front of 18,000 people, "Hey, I'm wrong," it's just ugly. It's just I don't think you get that in hockey, where referees have more of an authoritative presence than in other sports where, listen, when things get messy, and guys are throwing fists at each other, the referees step in and try to act like a parental sort of figure. So they have power. They have authority. And when you take that away from them in the sense of, hey, I was wrong, I got that wrong, I just think it rarely happens, I think. And I think a player, I forget who talked about this, they said, we're trying to get a guy to admit he's wrong in front of 20,000 people. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's been an overwhelming issue for the league this year. First of all, it takes too long. It takes about 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes live. When you're in a building, that just totally sucks the energy out of the game and out of the building.
Big time. I agree, especially because goals are momentum shifting moments in games.
Yes.
And if your team's coming back, and you get a goal, now you win at that face-off, so you want to drop that puck right away. You want to get that going, and so you can get another goal. And yeah, I do agree there. I do understand. It is funny every time a ref. My daughter brought this up the other night. It was really funny. We're watching the game, and the ref comes on and says, "After further review, the call on the ice stands. It's a goal." And it says that like we normally would say. And she's like, "Wow." She's like, "It's just like he was like called into the principal office, had to go in front of the class and say, after I talked to somebody else, I was right after all." So take that. So there, blah, and it walks away. It is kind of a weird thing. You're right, for these refs that have to for crying out loud, at least get iPad Pros. What the hell is wrong with the NHL?
These are Game Boys, right? They're looking at the old 1980s Game Boys.
They're looking at like the iPad Mini, like they got one of these in front of them, and they're trying to figure out what the hell to do. I mean, to me, it's like you got these beautiful iPad Pros now. You could easily put up in there, no problem.
After further review, I have moved on to the next level of Mike Tyson Punch-Out. It's just like...
Right. Just give them Google Glass, and they can just watch it right there.
Well, hell, the NBA. If you look at the NBA review, that they have this big, massive monitor on the officials' desk,
Yeah.
empty arenas. Why don't you just have a big monitor, in the one of the penalty boxes, or where the announcer is, and you can use that instead of like pulling out your smartphone and looking at that. It's basically what they're doing. It's like,
Yeah, they have like an old iPad. It's just, to me, I don't know. I think it's not a perfect system. There is definitely something about getting the puck right, getting it right on the ice. Will say this, I do miss the day of the goal judge where you had a guy standing behind the goal pressing a button, because that was like something that
he didn't know. He didn't know whether that puck crossed the goal line or not.
Yeah, but it was cool. There was a guy in a box, and you just see there he is on display like an animal for the whole world to see, and all he has is a single button in front of him. That, to me, that was like a job that I wanted as a kid. I'm like, that's a great spot to sit, and all you have to do is press a button when the puck goes in. Now I sit next to 3 seats away from me is the goal judge in the press box. He's over there, and I'm like, I can't see that. There's no way I can see the puck cross the line. Anyway, just saying. We are going to get into the Canadian thing. We'll get into it next week for sure. It is really fascinating that the 7 teams right now are not in the playoffs, and not looking like any of them are going to make the playoffs.
Who has the best chance right now? Is it Vancouver?
I believe it's Ottawa. I think
Ottawa
and Montreal are probably the closest, but they're pretty far off.
Vancouver's 8 points out of a playoff spot. Nobody else in the West. And right now the battle for 30th overall is between 4 Canadian teams.
And this has led actually to layoffs on Sportsnet again in Canada. More layoffs yesterday. Their ratings are just terrible for Hockey Night in Canada. They're lucky to get 1 million when they used to get 2 million.
Well, and I've mentioned this in a few of my columns, Zach, and I think it needs to be said when you look at what's going to happen with the Maple Leafs in the summer. Scott Moore, who's the president of Sportsnet, came out in an interview a couple months ago and said that the ratings for Sportsnet's Hockey Night in Canada broadcasts were directly related to the Leafs being as bad as they were this year. And the ratings were down 20%, and if the Leafs were at least competitive, the ratings would return, and if they were close to being a playoff team, that they would be up. If that's the case, not to say that Lou Lamoriello and Brendan Shanahan are going to be pressured to do something, but they're going to be pressured to do something. They're going to, and you can already hear what they're saying about next year in the media is that, well, we're going to be looking to get better. We're going to be, we want to generate a winning culture. This all feeds into Steven Stamkos. If Steven Stamkos is an unrestricted free agent, there's nothing that will stop this team from getting him.
Big step for Steven.
Well, I mean, I'm saying if he
doesn't want to go, I agree that you're going to have a really crazy. I think they're going to throw it. They're going to back the truck up. Literally.
Right, exactly. And if the situation in Tampa does not change, I think he's going to be amenable to going someplace else. Whether that's Toronto or not, we'll see. But I'm just saying, I think there is going to be a full court press on getting an impact player like Steven Stamkos in a Maple Leaf uniform to at least give the fan base something to watch and the team something to build around for the future.
I mean, I can't help but going back to that press conference, with Babcock when they announced, hey, here's the greatest coach in the history of time. He comes out there and says there will be a lot of pain, right, to a fan base that had already experienced a lot of pain for many years. It wasn't like it was good and now it's not going to be good. It's going to be even worse than it's been. I don't want to get into that rat hole, but I just think that it's definitely something that this all plays into what's going on now is apathy, which is the worst thing in the world. It's one thing if you're upset with a team. It's one thing if you're good with a team. If you're apathetic about a team, that's when ratings fall. That's when everything completely. And I've only been in Philadelphia for one apathetic year, and that was the year that that they ended up finishing last overall and should have gotten Kane, ended up getting Van Riesbeek. I saw that year the apathy in Philadelphia, and it was painful. It was painful to go to the games and cover them. It was painful just to be around, and the Leafs have been apathetic now for a while.
But you will see the apathy end in mid-April after the season, wherever they finish in terms of placement at the end of the season. If it's 30th, the apathy will end at the draft lottery. Will pick up during the off season when they go to the draft. I mean, the fan base is in on the rebuild. There's signs at the ACC. Thank you for the rebuild. They want this, but they also want something entertaining to watch. This team has had a lot of effort this year. Babcock is saying you need to continue to work and work and work, especially when you're a team that's devoid of significant talent. What they need to do now is add the talent, and that's what I think the whole thing with Stamkos is. They're not going to say it. They can't say it because they would be accused of tampering. But to me, it's Stamkos or bust.
Yeah. I think, and you look at that list of free agents. If they don't get him, it's really sort of like it's a bunch of old guys. The free agent listing is a lot of veterans, and a lot of the younger guys that are unrestricted free agents are guys that the Leafs have already had at one point, are already on the roster right now.
Yeah.
So it really is Stamkos or bust for them in terms of getting an impactful player that you think can help you be a great team, 2 years quicker than you're currently projected to be. So, I mean, it is a long road because you look at Mitch Marner, he's destroying the OHL right now.
Yeah.
But Lou Lamoriello himself goes, hey, he has to get stronger and bigger before he's on our team. Right. And it's like, okay, so what's he going to do next year? Is he going to dominate, the lower leagues again? It's like, it is a long process. And that's how it is when you start from scratch. It is a long process unless you get that jump starter that is Steven Stamkos.
Yeah.
He'll be back in London again, Ty. He's going to go back to his 19-year-old.
Philly with Konecny, he's going to be back probably in the minors as well, and he's also tearing it up. So, and I wonder about that sometimes because I'm not a big fan. I think there comes a point when it's not a good thing. But I know Russ would sit there and be on the show, and he would tell us that we need to keep those guys in the minors as long as possible. I just think that it's a changing league. I mean, you see these players come in now and make huge impacts way earlier. I mean, gosh, what we've seen with rookies this year is pretty phenomenal. Some of them have been around for a while. Some of them are brand new. Yeah. But I don't know.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why. It's not the sole reason, of course, but I think it's one of the reasons why someone like Jonathan Drouin is so pissed that he's he was a healthy scratch last year. He was a scratch on again, off again last year. Yeah. He didn't play as much in the playoffs. This year he's on the top 6 role. He gets hurt, and he's never back in that top 6 role. And then he's back in the minors. He's looking around his draft class, and he's like, what the hell? These guys are producing. I'm stuck in this weird limbo where I'm a third liner, a scratch, or I'm in the minors. What gives? So the league is always getting younger. We always say this. Every year it gets younger and younger.
Every year more guys make impacts.
And especially this year is especially true with Eichel, McDavid, Larkin, Gossespierre. I mean, there's a lot of young guys in this league right now. And
but what gives is the fact that in that draft class that he was drafted in, the teams that drafted McKinnon and Seth Jones were legitimate non-playoff teams, whereas Tampa, they were a great team that had a bad year and became a great team again right after, and they didn't find that, they didn't have any reason to put a 19-year-old in a top 6 role. It's sort of like what happened with Sagan in Boston.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Sagan. And when players, top players, prospects always complain about being drafted to lousy teams, but in actuality, those players who get drafted to lousy teams get a chance to play. The players who are drafted to the good teams those good teams can take their time bringing them in.
Right.
And we've seen it time and time again. And sometimes, Sagan is a very similar situation, I think, to Drouin in a lot of ways. I think that's the fear with Drouin too. And that's also the attraction of Drouin is how well things worked out when Sagan got moved, and people are saying, oh, if Sagan moved, this is going to happen.
Yeah, but remember, Ty knows he was there. Remember the first couple years with Sagan, he was playing out of position. He was playing on a third or fourth line.
Yeah.
It wasn't until his second season that he found a spot, and that was with the Bergeron Marchand, and he actually finished here in the top line when Nathan Horton went down with a concussion. And then the following season, he was with Bergeron and Marchand the entire season, up until the playoffs where he got demoted down to the third line because of his play.
Yeah.
And he was out of position the entire time, asked to do different things, I think, than he was ever accustomed to doing when he was, a superstar in the OHL, which is that transition, I think, that a lot of guys make. And some guys mentally struggle with it, where they go from being handed everything to them their entire hockey careers from the age of 11 to when their draft day comes, to getting a veteran coach or I don't want to call John Cooper a veteran coach, but a guy who's not going to take any nonsense from anybody.
Yeah.
Claude Julien or John Cooper. And if you're not playing the way they want you to, especially with a 3-zone game, you're going to the press box. You're going to go in the fourth line because they don't trust you, and they view the games as too important to just waste. So, yeah, that's the thing. When you go to a good team, it's way different than going to a bad team, and they're going to, hey, we're going to lose this game anyway, so go out there and play 19 minutes.
Yeah, get a chance to. Yeah, you're right. No, it's completely different. This weekend we got some good games to talk about. So tonight, I was just looking through the schedule here. Now, first of all, we do have to mention the fact that we called it on the Boston thing last night. You know, the Boston would have that problem with that game after just playing nothing but great teams. They come in, you know, and they kind of, but they still get the point. That's the sign of a good team. They got that point. Point for losing. They got the point for losing, which I always love. So tonight we got the Flyers and Lightning rematch coming up. That's going to be a good one. We, like you said, Ty, that Flyers that manhandled them in Philadelphia. They have not had a whole lot of luck in Tampa over the years, so this will be a really the weird thing about the Flyers in Tampa is they play incredibly high-scoring games. So look out for tonight if you have a pool thing or something like that, or you're playing one of these, you know, your draft things. Look for that because I would load up on Flyers and Lightning players because they tend to play ridiculously high-scoring games in Tampa and low-scoring games in Philly. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And then after that, we also tonight you have the Penguins and the Blue Jackets playing. And this is, you know, this is a big game.
And Sergei Bobrovsky returns after being out for I think almost 2 months. So I mean that may not be good news for the Penguins because Bobrovsky is, you know, if he's anywhere close to being 100%, he is a better goaltender than Korpisalo, but he's had a rough year. So
he's had a rough year, but he has a very good history against the Penguins. Going back to even when he was in Philly, he's been strong against the Penguins. The Penguins struggle mightily against the Metro Division and all the teams in the Metro Division. And this is one of them, you know, and this is why the Penguins the Penguins are my pick to miss the playoffs actually.
And this is where we come back to Tom Sestito all week long talking about Brandon Dubinsky.
Yeah.
This is finally that game.
We're getting that game. We're getting the rematch, which is good. Tomorrow we got a whole slew of games.
Well, Eck, let me just say the game of the night tonight is Chicago-Dallas.
Host is back. Host is playing tonight.
Yeah, battle of the Central Division leaders. They're both tied with I think it's 88 points.
Yeah.
So, you know, Dallas is a little wounded without Demers. Their defense is a little weaker, but this should be a really great game.
This is where Nashville is rooting big time for Dallas to win. Nashville they do not want to play. No one wants to play Chicago in the first round of the playoffs. So you want to get Chicago into this 2-3 battle. That's where you want to be. Although the Preds could catch the Blues, still. Then tomorrow the Flyers go into the other Florida team. They play the Panthers, and they have not had a lot of luck lately against the Panthers. So these are two games. These are two tough games for the Flyers. The Preds are in Vancouver. The Wild and Montreal play tomorrow, and Subban's going to miss for the first time in his career. Thankfully, he's okay, but he's going to miss a game because of injury. Isn't that crazy? This is the first injury-related game he's missed. I mean, a guy who plays like Subban, that this is like the first time he's missed a game because of an injury.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was scary too. Watching that last night, you're thinking, oh, you see the stretcher come out, and you're like, oh, you know, here we go. This is another ugly situation where we're talking a long recovery for a Montreal Canadien, and
yeah.
It was great to hear that he's okay. Honestly, PK is one of the game's best talents, best people.
He's awesome. I mean,
yeah. So
he's a great person to talk to.
Without Subban, the Canadiens become even more unbearable to watch in terms of just the product they're putting out there right now. So to have him be okay, who knows if he's going to play again in the next couple of weeks, but. Man, if you're watching a Canadiens team without Carey Price and without PK Subban, what's the point? Just don't even bother. Spend your night doing anything else.
Anything else, yeah.
Watch a Leaf game.
There you go. Well, that's a little bit worse. I'm sure you'll probably be tomorrow in Boston for that afternoon game against the Islanders, I imagine.
Yep.
That.
Yeah, I'll be there. That should be a good one. Really looking forward to seeing how the Islanders handle life without Halak. I mean, Thomas Greiss has been huge, but he's always had that safety net of Yaroslav Halak behind him, and now it's showtime. I mean, this is Islanders. This team, you know, they're not completely out of the woods in terms of Pittsburgh catching them. So, you know, I think that they have to come out. They have to play well. They haven't beaten Boston yet this season, so that's obviously that'd be a huge game. I think that they have to circle. A lot of fates on the line here with the Islanders. I think this year. I think I think even though Halak's injured, if they come up short in the playoffs again, I think Jack Capuano might be out. And you might see some changes in terms of big trades to the Islanders, moving some of these youthful pieces and trying to get a veteran or just something that they think can help. So there's a lot on the line for the Islanders here in the stretch run, I think. So it would be interesting to see how they react and how they respond, especially against a good team like Boston.
Capuano must have some kind of modern era record in the NHL for longevity without really winning a playoff series. Like I think they won one playoff series, right? But he's barely won.
Well, Hitch has to be up there too, then, right? Hitch.
Yeah, he's up there too. But no, Capuano's way longer though.
I think Capuano's been in 2 playoff series and he's lost both of them.
Okay, so he has lost both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Hitchcock runs into the Blackhawks or the Kings every year, which I don't think is really fair against him.
No, that's the thing, and he has won before in his career.
Yeah.
But that's true. And the Rangers, of course, and Red Wings tomorrow too. Another major game of playoff importance. The Rangers are not out of the woods either. I mean, as far as the playoffs go, and they're starting to play. They have issues as well. Lundqvist is not playing for them right now.
Again, there's your team that I think Philadelphia has the better chance to catch. They barely beat a bad Winnipeg team yesterday. Winnipeg jumped out 2-0. And Detroit came back. Right now there just doesn't seem to be any impetus there with the Red Wings. They just seem there's a lack of motivation, and there shouldn't be because they're not out of the woods. So.
Yeah, they're not a confident team. I watched the end of that game, and they got lucky to hold on to that one too.
They are simultaneously too old and too young.
You're right.
Nice.
Or no, there have been teams like that before that have there's no players in their late 20s. Like there's just everybody's too early 20s or mid to late 30s.
Yeah.
Teasers and toddlers.
Yeah, and that is a weird thing. The Flyers have had that situation too, and it's a very strange thing because there's definitely a connection, a generation gap between players that are in their mid to late 30s and early 20s.
Yeah. The Flyers, the 2010 Flyers were a bit older, yes, but they also had Carter, Richards, and Hartnell when they were at their absolute peak. They had Giroux coming into his own, and they had a few other guys, but
they had Briere and Timonen were really both at their peaks too.
Exactly, yeah. So
they were in that spot too. But so the Penguins, and then on Sunday the Penguins Rangers, which is always a good one. That's your NBC game on Sunday, and that will be that's going to be a fun one because the Penguins are going to. I think the Penguins are going to have to win that game. They're getting to the point where they're going to have to win one of these games against one of these kind of teams. And the Rangers could also be fighting for their lives. So that's a real tough one. And then the Maple Leafs and Red Wings tomorrow night or Sunday night. And the Leafs have been a problem for teams lately as far as battling. They definitely battle.
They battle, but in the end they lose. Zach, they've lost.
They do lose, but they can get the Red Wings last night, by the way, in that game, Blake Wheeler hit the crossbar with like 10 seconds left. It was crazy. That's how close the Winnipeg Jets came to tying that game last night. The
one team that the Red Wings have no problem getting motivated for is to play Babcock. They've pretty much destroyed the Leafs in most of the times that they played them this year. So I think that's the one game. The only thing bad there is that it's Detroit playing in the second of back-to-back. Or the second in three nights, but
no back-to-back. They're playing the Rangers on Saturday,
and then the Leafs are playing back-to-back too. They're playing in Ottawa on Saturday, so so that you have two tired teams, and in that instance, talent probably wins out.
And like we talked about before, although these teams you would consider them mostly out of it, the Hurricanes and the Senators are sticking around a little bit. They're still in this battle. The Hurricanes now are actually tied with the Flyers, but the Flyers have 3 games at hand. But on Saturday night, Carolina plays Buffalo and Ottawa plays Toronto. So these are 2 games that should be victories for both those teams and could keep them in it. So by the end of this weekend, we'll have a much better view of this whole thing. We only have a few weekends left in the NHL season. It's just getting warm outside. It feels like the playoffs when you're outside. That's the first thing that always feels like to me.
Less than a month to go.
I know. It feels like the playoffs. So enjoy your games tonight. Thanks as always, Ty. I appreciate you jumping on.
Absolutely.
And thank you, Mike, for all of your hard work again this week. We'll be back on Monday. Remember that the buzz, it is just hockey. Enjoy your games.